So it's time to actually tackle my tractor's rim that's completely rotted about a third of the way around. So first things first, I got to take the tire off, because whether the rim is salvageable or not, the tire is. So we'll use this tool that I made up in the other video. If you didn't watch that, I'll put a link to it at the end of this. Because what we're going to do, even though we got the bead broken, I need to actually hold the rubber down below this little lip so it can push in there, so this side can come out. And so it'll hold it there while I start prying. So you can see the rot encompasses almost a third of the rim, so I'm going to see if I can repair it. I've owned the tractor for about 10 years, and this repair looked old when I got it. It looks like this, what they did is actually, you can see a couple rivets here and there. It looks like they riveted on lead sheet, because it was pliable and bent around. So this stuff right here sticking out is actually lead. So no big deal. And then they duct taped around. It did work, you know. If I've owned it for 10 years and looked old then, you know, this could have been a 15, 20-year-old repair. And then they put a bunch of JB weld over the top of everything. But it did work, so we were peeled that apart. Okay, we're on the inside. So you peel back the layer of duct tape, which is fine. I mean, it keeps the scaling rust from bonding to the rim and puncturing the rim. It actually held up pretty good. And you expose lead plates. So what they've done is just riveted a bunch of lead plates. This is just a small lead plate. This one looks like it's a lot larger. Either right here. Oh, that's where I cut the tape. All the way over to here, and then here's another one. So they took some lead plates and just formed them up over this lip. And it's riveted, and able to actually hold the tube in. But over time, the pressure from the tube just pushed it off this, ripped out the rivets, and just pushed it out. Not the worst repair I've ever seen. It worked, you know, it gave it 15, 20 years. So I guess you can't complain for that. So now you can see the extent, and it extends roughly 3 feet, 36 inches all the way around. Almost half the rim. Not quite, but a good half almost. So that's how much I'm going to replace. Ideally what you would do is actually just take another rim that's junk, because I've never really seen them. They usually don't rot out all the way around. So you just cut out a good side out of the other side and just weld it in, and scrap out another rim. My other rim's actually in good shape, so I don't have a spare rim. I looked on the classifieds. I didn't find somebody just trying to get rid of a junk rim, because most of the time people wouldn't. But anyway, these aren't that expensive, but I'm still going to repair it. Did a little bit of measuring, and I figured I need about 1 inch here, about 1 inch down, and about 5 inches takes me over to here. I want to keep some of this original, and it's actually pretty thick. It's almost 1/8 inch back here. I want to keep some of the original in this section just to keep the same radius. So I started making some cardboard templates, and what I did is actually hold up a piece of cardboard out to here. In here is a smaller radius, so it doesn't actually sit, but this tapers. It actually lays at an angle. Like these things lay at an angle, so when you lay it at an angle, it actually fits pretty close. So I think this cardboard template is actually going to work pretty good for this piece. So this piece is flat, this piece is flat, this piece is actually kind of at an angle. So I'm going to start cutting these out. So to cut this 5 inch and 1 inch piece, I needed nice and straight runs. I actually ended up using this. This is the Evolution metal cutting only circular saw. So it's just meant to cut metal, and it's twice as big as like a wood cutting circular saw. Pretty powerful little thing. But put up a little fence, cuts them off just beautifully. It still is going to have a little bit of spring to it, so I need to form it around something a little bit smaller. Because if I try to form it back around the original rim, it's just going to spring out even bigger. So I got this smaller rim here. This is like a 15-inch rim or something. And we just tapped one side, and then we're just slowly rolling it around and hoping we don't get, the tack doesn't pop whap us in the side of the head. And it's almost perfect. Easily can be manipulated into the exact spot that I need now. So that piece is good. This smaller piece, I've been around the same, but it had a little, it was smaller, so it didn't have as much spring to it. So it went a little smaller radius than the big piece, but this is small enough to manipulate and get it exactly how I want. And then I just kind of bent this up here and there, just mainly just by hand. And that can come in here and be the inside of my rim piece. So everything kind of get manipulated around, you know, with the metal cut out, of course. And you can see that starts to look like the inside of a rim. I cleaned everything up, and it looks like I have about 1/8 of an inch everywhere that I cut off, so I don't have really any thin spots. I cut off way more than I needed to, just because that's how long my scrap piece was. And then I put some little tabs on the inside all the way along, so I can actually line all this up to the exact same surface it was before, because I'm doing nothing but just flopping out here. I got the big piece tacked in, but that piece isn't crucial really at all. That could be almost 1/4 inch off and probably still be okay. The piece that is crucial is this little teeny piece that is actually the bead. And so what I did is I cut a board out with the same angle, but I can set this in here now, and I did it on the back side. And now I can lay this in here and then tack and then move this around with myself, so I know exactly where the bead needs to go, because the tire needs to sit as close as possible on this bead all the way around. So everything is tacked. And so you can see it resembles a rim. This angle is a little bit more than it was originally, but that really doesn't matter. So all welded in. Some of the seams I welded from both sides, just so when I start grinding, see that it'll be more flush. So time to start grinding. So I cut out the hole for the valve stem right there, and then I got a plate somewhere, right back here, and I'll just weld that right in there at a flatter angle. I decided to cut off all of these mounts just because there was dirt wedged under in between this bolt against there, so I wasn't sure. And that's when I was cleaning up the other sides, I'm thinking that might have been, you know, besides just having the calcium or whatever they had in here at one point that rotted it out, I don't think it helped, because in between here and the rim was really thin. So I just decided to cut them all off, and then while doing it I just figured I'd cut it out, patch the hole, and then I'm going to move everything to the other side of the rim for no reason. They're identical. And then put the valve stem in. So I'll just weld up those holes and then mount all those. Everything's ground down. Valve stem is in. All the holes are plugged up. So now it's just a matter of, I got all the little shoes or feet or whatever attached. And so now I can just lift it into place and hammer it in, and then weld it. They're a little snug, to be expected. There we go. I guess now it's time to ship it off to the paint room, because everything's in. All these are still warm, all welded up. So I guess some primer, paint, but other than that, it's all together, it's all done. So paint it is. Tip for you, if you want your rubber cement to stay fresh and never to dry out, as after you put the lid on, store it upside down. Works with like pipe glue and stuff like that. This is over a year old, and it still hasn't dried out at all because I try to store it upside down all the time, and it just kind of seals around, and any that leaks out just dries versus just being up, and then the gases just evaporate. But that works out good. And another thing is, there is one patch company out there. They haven't paid me. I bought these with my own money. Rima Tip Top. I have used so many patches in the past, and after, you know, you pull the tire off a year later and the patch is dried, cracked, failing, these Rima ones are by far the best patches I've ever used. And if they're not big enough, they have the unique benefit of being able to be stacked. You can actually, where's my hole? Right there. You can actually stack one on top of the other and build a patch to the size you need, which you can't really do that with most patches because the edges on these are actually paper thin. I don't know what this orange stuff is around there, but that stuff bonds better than any patch I've ever used. It's only been a second, but look at this. Look at that, stretches with the tube. Exactly the same as the tube. I don't know what this orange stuff is, but it bonds itself amazing to the tire. Thanks to a viewer, they set me on these. These are the Haltech lock-on air chucks. And this is an air chuck that it just comes with this piece down here, and you can put, you know, 1/4-inch MPT fittings however you like. And this locks on and does not come off. So you can lock it on, do a bead, and walk away. Got the tire on. You actually used to be on that side, but that side has always been on backwards since I've owned it. So I just switched that one over there and put this tire on backwards the right way and put it on this side. But figured we'd do a cold start. This is my 1952 Ferguson TO-30 tractor. I have not started it in 2 or 3 months. So let's see what she does. Just for fun, I'll show you guys how to start this thing. You'll notice down here on the shifter plate, you know, this is the gear shifter. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the way over here you got reverse, but then you got S. S is start. So you can never start this thing in gear, because what you do is you flip the key switch on, and then you just push it up into the S position. And